Thursday, December 8th, Salmon Bay, not far from the Cape of Good Hope. Roma International is repairing his routers without any assistance, which otherwise would entail his disqualification. Here are the two routers I was able to extort. It's great. Honestly, that's what I was fearing the most, not to be able to pull them out. So one is completely ruined, the starboard. No, sorry, the board side. One, the starboard isn't too badly damaged. 2.5 days at stop for Roma, who above all didn't want to abandon the race. 2 full days non-stop to stratify his routers and repair peeling on the hull. We're ready to go. I'm just waiting for the glue to dry on my carbon plates. I'm waiting another hour. Afterwards, I'll whale. Everything's ready. There's wind, serious wind. We're on the wind, it's choppy. Out for war now. It's hot start. Roma is back in the race in last position, 12,500 kilometers behind the leader Armel Leclerc. The exact distance between Paris and Alice Springs in the heart of Australia. 12,500 kilometers for 22 solitaries spread over 2 oceans, the Indian and the Pacific, south, right on the edge of the Antarctic ices. Yesterday noon, we crossed the Cape Lewin, south of Australia. So now we're under Australia, and next stage is Tasmania. And that's marking the split between the Indian Ocean and the Pacific. There's a lot of wind today, 35 knots with gusts at about 40 knots. The front will be passing soon, will turn southwestward in a few hours. Everything's fine, a little tiring because strong winds are here for the next days. The Great South in all its outrageousness, with its string of depressions falling invariably overall, chaotic sea, sneaky breakers, in other words, everyone's in the same boat, so to speak. So this morning, we're in the 40th. I don't know if you can see behind me. The sea isn't huge, just a bit untidy. It's war out there. Happy holidays, they wished me when I left the Figaro. Yeah, right. Did you see where we are?
It's 4 degrees centigrade in the cockpit.
Wow.
My, oh my. It's hammering. How fast are we? 25 knots? 27? Means gonna have to reef. Yeah. First layer, the overalls, the boots with their gaiters, the jacket with the sleeves, the collar and the hood. That's it. Ready to sail into the arena. It's the battle dress. Let's go. To reef, jibe, go about, make more sail. Just as many tiring maneuvers for man alone, especially under those latitudes. Maneuvers that can last hours. And then there's speed. Speed is a skipper's friend as well as its foe. Friend for gliding, for the ranking, its enemy for the stress it originates, the risk it entails, and it's even harder at night.
The boat's flying down waves at 30 knots sometimes before coming to an almost complete standstill, and it just means that you're being thrown around all over the place. You can hear the water rushing over the deck, and it's now that your mind starts to wonder what's going to happen. What happens if the structure fails? What happens if you hit something? I do wonder why I do it sometimes.
34th day of the race, while leading Armel Leclerc widens the gap by 190 miles with his direct opponent Alex Thomson. They just passed the south of New Zealand. Further back, it's time for a breather after a long sequence of lows. Sunshine, blue sky. Gosh, that feels good. I was closed in my cage for the last 3 days. It's great. Moving along really well, but after 3 days in the doghouse, it was going around in circles. So it feels good to get some fresh air. Even if after 3 days of runs and sprints, there are a lot of couple things, little things that are broken, rubbed, little stuff inherent to the sustained rhythm. Solitary racing, and especially the Vendee Globe, is a complete sport. No weakness is allowed. You gotta be able to solve any problems, whether sporting, tactical, or technical. And for Thomas Rouillon, since he entered the Indian Ocean, damages have become his daily lot.
Bon voilà, j'ai du coup une grosse galère. Ouah.
Well, this is a real pain. I've got the snorkel that cut open the hawse bottom. So I have a great water ingress. So I jibed and closed off the hole with an oilskin for the moment.
Pour l'instant. Voilà, putain, la galère.
Bummer. We've got 40, 45 knots, and it's not getting any better. Gosh darn it! I seem to be collecting them. Problems with a traveler, with sail baitons for which he had to climb up the mast, close off another water ingress. Thomas spent a tremendous amount of energy to stay in the race. Last stage of repairs. I was waiting to be on port tack to do the job. So I closed off the hole, tried to do as clean a stratification as possible, and normally it should hold until Les Sables d'Olonne. At the 37th day of the race, Lecléache, Thompson, Meillat, and Bayou are already in the Pacific South, but a huge storm may redistribute the cards for the pursuers. This southern depression is closing the entrance to the Pacific from the south of Australia to the Antarctic. It should pass on quickly, but it's going to be violent. We're expecting gusts of up to 50, 60 knots. It's sure that with SMA, we're better positioned than Yan is, I would say. These are violent phenomena that speed up below New Zealand. Right there below New Zealand, at the bad time, shall we say. So, I'm going to have to manage. No fooling around. Wind will pick up quickly, so I'll have to be able to lower the sails fast without any hitches. In facing this rough weather, Yann Eliès, Jean-Pierre Dick, and Jean Le Cam have taken radically different options. Jean Le Cam, while slowing down, remains southward. Jean-Pierre intends to cross the Bass Strait. Yann Eliès remains in the center. It's true. I haven't been very talkative lately. Well, simply because I was quite worried. And still am about the conditions we encounter. I had been slowing down the last 2 days, and it's true, I was too far ahead of Jean-Pierre Dick to cross Tasmania. I had called him. We had talked about it, and I had told him my intent was to cross southward. I hope it all goes well for him and for myself. Whoa. Oh my. It's hammering. Wow. 47 knots. With hail. Oh, come on, my friend. Managing the storm is mostly getting out of it. I want to have the least speed compared to the waves. If you don't have enough speed in relation to the event, it's going to take over. But then again, you can't go too fast either. It's a silly game. 2 degrees near of the pilot setting and you're screwed. And then you're in real trouble. The Austral storm is worthy of its reputation with peaks of 70 knots, 7 to 8 meter troughs of the sea, and rock waves abreast. I got whacked by a wave the first time. I ended up with my head in the planking across. I went under the chart table. Ended with the face on the opposite side. And the 2 other times, I felt it coming, so I lay in front of the chart table, held onto it with one hand, so not to end on the other side. It's starting to weigh on me. I'm sick and tired of having to manage these kind of situations, while my buddies, they don't bother with those things, those considerations. Well, that's the way it is, huh? In the end, it's Jean Le Cam who comes out the nicest. His option south allowed him to get within 30 miles behind Yann Eliès, and mostly move up a place in the ranking, and gain a good 100 miles on Jean-Pierre Dick, who chose to pass between Australia and Tasmania. Land! Land! There you can see Tasmania. Here, the Corman Group Islands. Here I'm in the Bass Strait. The oriental part. Lots of waves, very impressive. This incredible option will have cost him no less than 500 miles, a detour of almost 1,000 kilometers, the price for safety. It's not at all over. Be careful, huh? Here, we're in a phase. We've let things go by. Now we're moving back towards the depression in the wavy zones, following up the depression, which doesn't mean there won't be any wind in there. It's quite tough. The depression, which is quickly moving eastward, should push Jérémy Bayou and Paul Meillat towards the two leaders who've been slowed down by a great windless bubble right on their trajectory. In terms of strategy, the coming days are going to be a little complicated. I'm going to switch rhythms a little, change to a calmer mode, which will allow me to breathe, rest, and also do some maintenance. There are a couple little things to attend to. Nothing too serious, but I'm going to have to do it. So the boat is 100% effective for what's to come next. Next is to keep Alex Thomson in the rearview mirror, avoid braking above all, and cross the Cape Horn leading by far on Christmas Day. To each their own race, this 8th edition could also be called the Vendee Globes. So much are performances, motivations, and stories different.
Un Vendee Globe,
The Vendee Globe, you try to win, or end at least. Gonna have trouble catching up with Armel and Alex, so the objective now is to finish the race, hang on to this dream, navigating in this impressive wilderness. The Indian Ocean is really something.
C'est quand même quelque chose.
12,500 kilometers away from the leaders, Roma is back in the race thanks to his persistence. So friends, I'm moving along, reaching at 35 knots. 35 knots winds and the boat is at 22, 23 knots. I'm going to shorten the sails a little because gotta watch the equipment. We're in the south, it's windy and it's cold.
Rich Wilson aboard Great American 4. I'll give you a little primer about this storm that we're in. First of all, a little orientation for where we are. Here you can see the Indian Ocean. There's Australia, South Africa, Madagascar. Here's the Kerguelen Islands down here. And this red line is the Antarctic exclusion zone, which is an area that we're not supposed to go across for the race to keep us away from icebergs. Now, Jean-Yves Bernot, the great French weather router, had said that any storms that originate here in South Africa or Madagascar and come down here should try to escape south if you could. They rotate clockwise and they can be very severe. And so the original forecast had it going a little further north. So within our little group of 4 boats of Eric Bellion and Alan Rura, Endo Koinin, and ourselves, we 3 of us decided to go south to try to hide from it that way. Eric decided to go north. So there's Eric up there, there's Alan's right here, and Enda's right there, and we're back here. So the problem that we've had today has been that when the second part of this storm reached us last night, that it's very windy. These barbs, if there are 4 little feathers on, it means 40 knots of wind, is that the boat has been going so fast that we're keeping up with the storm. And what we want is we want the storm to go past us so that we can get out of it. These different colors over here, these lighter colors, are slightly less wind. But because we're going so fast, that we're just staying up with those isobars. So here's boat speed, top there, 15 knots. We've had surges every few minutes, every 20-some minutes to 20 knots all day long. And top left here is the wind speed, 43 knots right there. Here's autopilot, 145, true wind angle we've set it at. We've been watching the barograph intensively because the barograph will tell us if those isobars are moving past us and if the storm is moving past us. So it's been painful to watch. We're at 96.6 there. Here's a second barograph that I like better, but it's just because it's got some wood on it. So this is telling us how much it's going up per hour and per 3 hours. There's some numbers in there. So slowly, 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 the storm is moving past us, and yet we're also, we had a little bit of an issue here of running out of running room because we can't cross this red line. And so slowly in the last couple of hours the wind has shifted a little bit. It's given us a little bit better angle, but we're still going so fast that we're staying up with the storm. So that's really the problem. Now there's a 12 knots top there. I wish we'd just stay right there. Stay right there. We've seen 26 knots today, and we only have the 3rd reef and the mainsail up. We have no jib up at all. And it's just, there's no way to slow the boat down. So we have a 4th reef, but we can't get at it downwind. So we're stuck. Fortunately, the autopilot's been doing a really good job and has been keeping us going fast, which we don't want to do, but maybe that's why the autopilot's steering so well, is it's going so fast. We're going so fast. But hopefully in the next few hours, the storm will move ahead of us, and then we'll be into lighter winds. I mean, anything, even if it was down to 30 knots of wind, that would be a huge relief from the sort of 40 knots. There's got 39 knots, 38. So it's just been windy all day. It's been steady 45 for the last few hours. So that's it from Great American 4. A little primer on this depression in the Indian Ocean.
The decor. Very gray. Blue-gray, dark gray, gray. Gloomy. 40 days after the start, symbolic number, if any, heavy winds at the rear of the race. I've pumped, bailed out, sponged to the very limits of my patience. It's quite comfortable inside, thank goodness, because now, outside, it's really knocking hard. Boat is sailing well between 17 and 27 knots. Keeps me quite busy. In 6th position, Jean-Pierre Dick at full speed is catching up on Jan Eliès. If he succeeds in overtaking him after 1,000-kilometer detour, this will be a very first in the race's track record. In front, the duel is becoming tighter and tighter with only 20 miles between Paul Meillat and Jérémy Bayou now in 3rd position. Well, what I'm happy about is not to be 3rd. It's mostly for having been able to catch up on the 250 miles I had lost with my mainsail hook problems. And now,
front of us, there isn't much wind. It's a little complex weather. It's not going to be so obvious. There's been a lot of maneuvers in the last 24 hours. Tonight, I think it's going to calm down. I'll try to make the best out of it. Even if we're not going very fast, it's a little frustrating. But hey, it's nice to get some fresh air. If the back of the fleet is well shaken, at the front, it's calm. Too calm. Which doesn't stop Armel Leclerc from widening the gap mile after mile with Alex Thomson. What I asked Santa is to cross Cape Horn in the lead, so we'll see if Santa will greet my demand. 400 miles now separate the two leaders in these light airs.
As you can see, as is the Southern Ocean, we pan around. It's a world of grey. A total and utter, I would say 50 shades of grey. I think it's more like 100 shades of grey. Well, a very warm welcome to Race HQ at the base of the Eiffel Tower. We're live for our English programme on this 8th edition of the Vendee Globe, and it's day number 41 on the racecourse. A little slow still at the front of the fleet. Armel Leclerc just extending progressively. Meantime, Jeremy Bayou is up to third, passing Paul Meillat, who's now in fourth. And hard conditions in the Indian Ocean for the gang of four. Enda O'Coinin, Eric Bellion, Rich Wilson and Alan Rura, all having it pretty tough. 50-60 knots for them at times. Special guest today will on video from not from the Western Pacific, but from Warsash. Mike Golding is joining us. He needs no introduction at all. Vendee Globe in 2001 was 7th after restarting. 2004-05, Mike was third, abandoned on day 37 in 2008, 2009 when he was leading the race, and 6th in the last edition. Mike, welcome. We'll join you very shortly. And Guillaume joining us to give us some insight into quite a rich number of skippers this morning. Lots to talk about.
3 of them, so we'll talk about later.
Good, thank you, Guillaume. So let's have a look at the 3D situation, the fly through the fleet at midday, and this is how it looks just now. Starting off with a great head-to-head between Maitre Koch and SMA. Well, actually starting off with Armel Leclerc at the front of the fleet, just looking at Alex Thomson, now 350 miles behind. But the head-to-head really is between Maitre Koch and SMA just now. Bayou, as we said, is up to third, just passing ahead of Paul Meillat. Very close though, only 21 miles between them, and slow, 6.3 versus 6.4 knots. South of New Zealand, well, the Three Musketeers continue to have big seas. Jean-Pierre Dick now 60 miles behind Elias, slightly quicker, so how much longer for that? Thomas Riong there, going north towards Tasmania as big low pressure comes up behind him. Louis Burton in 9th, all going well for him. And then Conrad Coleman, pretty muscular conditions for him right now. And then looking at the group of four, just in that tough conditions, the big low pressure. Peter Harima still out to the north in lighter conditions, trying to avoid the worst of the low. And then at the back of the fleet, still all to play for. So that's the situation as we look at the fly through. Mike Golding, how are you today?
Very well, thank you, very well. Following the race really closely.
As we would expect of someone who's done 4 Vendee Globes. Mike, what's your thoughts of the situation just now, in particular at the front of the fleet for Alex and for Armel?
Of course, Armel's got the break he's been looking for some time, and it must be a bit frustrating for Alex to watch Armel pull away, and really it's happened very, very quickly. If you think how long these two boats have been tied together by a seemingly inseparable bond, suddenly that bond seems to be broken and Armel has been able to pull away. Looking at the weather this morning, didn't look great for Alex even today. He's in a little high pressure cell and it looks like it's actually moving along with him, so that's kind of difficult because he's now also got to be looking behind him at the speed of the two boats coming up behind him, because they've really closed down the gap over the last 3 days. So difficult times, but Alex was very positive on his on the video this morning, and you know, he says it as it is, which there's nothing he can do about it. He's just got to deal with the conditions he's facing at the moment. So, but it didn't. Otherwise, it didn't look like there were any particular problems on board.
Absolutely. I mean, it can be kind of mixed feelings because maybe he'd rather have much more wind, but then he would be more kind of jeopardy of damaging the boat. So what would his feelings be vis-a-vis that at the moment? Would he rather have more breeze and be going faster and having the chance to get back at Armel, or thinking of consolidating?
No, I think he absolutely choose the former. He'd definitely go faster if he can. And, you know, I think Alex has got his head around what he needs to do. He's sort of aware of the deficit he's got with the missing foil. But I think for sure he'd want to go quicker.
And the Pacific, there's so many different faces of the Pacific. This is very different to the situation you had before.
Yeah, it's quite a different situation. You know, I mean, in the Pacific can be extremely tough going, and right now they'll almost be starting to look at what's going to confront them as they approach the Horn, because that's a real pinch point. On the one side they've got the virtual wall, and on the other side you've got South America creeping up, and it's a real pinch point. If you get bad weather at that point, it can be very dangerous, and conversely, if you get a hold up at that point, quite often boats will get around the Horn and immediately fall into the lee of the land, and that can allow the boats that are still in the Southern Ocean, even when they're 700-800 miles behind you, that can allow them to really close down that gap.
Thanks, Mike. We do have Alex Thomson and Hugo Boss joining us. Alex, you can hear Mike Golding in the background.
I thought that was Mike's voice. Hello, Mike. How you doing?
Oh, I'm very well, Alex. How are you?
Yeah, very good, thank you, mate. Very good. Been a bit of a tricky Pacific crossing. A bit frustrating after being the rapid route to here. So I'm currently going upwind with nothing stopping me from going sideways. So it's extremely frustrating, but still, I could be in a lot worse position.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, we're all following your progress. Last night I was at Southampton University talking to year 1, 2 and 3 of the yacht and boat design course, and everyone is asking how you're doing, how you're getting on. So it's great to have an opportunity to talk to you.
Yeah, it's amazing. The support has been incredible. I think maybe it's the video from the Kerguelen Islands that kind of show people what it's really like.
Yeah, now that was a really interesting video, Alex, because, and particularly last night this came up, it's quite apparent in the video, or it looked in the video as if you weren't able, when you're on this port board, the broken board, it looked like you weren't able to fully cant your keel. Is that correct? Alex, did you catch that?
Well, we lost him, I think.
I think it was a tactical break.
Pertinent question, perhaps. But just expand on that one a little bit, Mike, while we've got you.
Yeah, well, one of the interesting things, of course, is the way these boats are working is they're not just lifting on the foil, they're also lifting off the keel, and the keel is providing a good portion of the lift. If you look at a lot of the head shots of these boats sailing, you'll see they're actually sort of sitting up on their keel and sitting up on their foil. So without the foil there, without that foil lift, the keel is actually still lifting and actually reducing your righting moment, which means that you might not be able to run with full keel, but conversely, that actually may be a good thing, because it might...
We have Alex back to answer the question, perhaps.
It's much more interesting.
Alex? Carry on, Mike.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can, yeah. I don't know where we got cut off, but I was asking about, the difficulties of sailing the boat without the foil, whether you're having to not fully cant your keel.
Yeah, it's difficult. Upwind, the keel's obviously got the pin angles helping, so the keel's actually when it's fully canted, does help me. So what I try to do is sail very high. I've got lots of leeway, so I'm trying to sail as high as I can, trying to keep the boat as flat as possible, but with quite a lot of keel cant, because the fin fully canted does kind of help pull you to windward. But I think any way you look at it, it's pretty ugly, mate. When it's quite nice in the night because you can't see your wake out the back of the boat. In the daytime, you can see how bad it is, but at night time, you can't.
Yeah, that must be terrible. It must be extremely frustrating for you. But what's been remarkable is how well you've stayed with Armel in the stronger conditions. What's your feeling on the? Do you feel actually safer on the broken foil side in the very tough conditions?
When the conditions get pretty bad, fast and big waves, you bring the foil in anyway because the foil doesn't care, it just carries on working, and the boat just becomes airborne most of the time. So it becomes very apparent very quickly that you're going to damage the boat. So in the stronger conditions, definitely in the 30, 35 knots, you definitely bring it in, and probably for my foil, as soon as I start going above 25 knots of boat speed, then I start to retract it a little bit by bit. But probably, I think the biggest advantage for us is in the lower speeds, in the kind of 13 to 18 knots of wind. That's where our foil, to be honest, you can go as fast at 18 knots as you can in 25, 30 knots of wind.
Yeah, I mean, it's I've actually noticed you dragging miles out of Armel, even when you're on that broken side in the tougher conditions. I mean, do you feel it's not really hindered you when you're going downwind fast?
I think that's sails. I think I've got a different set of sails to him, and it's probably apparent in the videos in the Caribbean islands. And so I think that's a significant difference in our wardrobes. It helps in the stronger conditions. I'm a bit more set up to go downwind than he is.
Yeah, I mean, that video was simply extraordinary, and was an extraordinary bit of footage. And, of course, we see all the staged helicopter shots and that you do before the start. But to see something real like that, live from the Southern Ocean, was just tremendous. It's gone down really well here, and I'm assuming it's gone down really well in France. I think everyone's picked up on it, and great bit of footage. And great to see you out there flying the flag.
Yeah, Mike, I'm a bit, as you know, that's what it's like, isn't it? That's when you're in the Southern Ocean and you're doing 20 knots, that is exactly what it's like, day in, day out for weeks. And so, yeah, I mean, it was great that the French guys put somebody up. I have to say, I was very sort of appreciated seeing somebody at that stage, and I think they thought when I popped down below that I'd had enough. And I suddenly remembered that I had a Union Jack, so I couldn't miss the opportunity.
Oh, that's great. No, that's great. I was listening to your report today, and you were saying about waking up and thinking that one of your mates was there about ready to ease the main sheet. I had exactly those dreams whenever I was in the south. I found that very funny, and I think a lot of people will have enjoyed that.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Because you can't. I wake up often not really understanding where I am and what I'm doing, and then clearly the last thing that's on my mind is that I'm on my own. So yeah, it's always a bit disappointing, when you suddenly realise that actually you are on your own, and there's no one else to help you and no one else to speak to, only for a moment. But yeah, it is weird. I'm trying as hard as I can to impart as much of what it's like out here this time. I'm doing most of my video from an iPhone using an application called Netcaster. So literally, I can make a movie on my iPhone like you or I would do normally, and then it's 2 clicks, 1 click to encode it, and the second click to send it, and it's gone. So it's so easy. But actually, there's no excuse not to be able to give as much information as possible.
And that's really come across, Alex. That's really, you know, all the video footage and the daily reports have really come across well. But also notable has been you've been very upbeat. I mean, sure, you're having a great race, and I expect you to be upbeat, but it's funny when you listen to the reports from further back in the fleet, they always sound a bit more grimbly about it, unless they're Ender, of course.
Alex, your videos have been fantastic so far. Keep them up, and we'll join you again in a couple of days. Thanks, Alex. All the best.
Alex.
Yeah, great to speak to you, Mike.
Lovely
Cheers,
to
Andy.
speak to you.
Bye-bye.
You take care.
So, Mike, Alex sounding quite upbeat still.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's really been quite notable. I mean, you know, these races are tremendously tough, and you know, at the other end of the extreme, you do hear the real pain in the voices of some of the people in the fleet. And so when you hear Alex feeling so upbeat, that tells you a lot about the fact that he's in a very good mode in this race. You know, I'm sure he hasn't always felt that upbeat about his Vendee Globes, but when everything's going right and the boat feels right and you feel prepared, then suddenly it all clicks and you're in a good shape.
From that point of view, Mike, do you think the videos are significant in that they really focus his energy and his thoughts over a very short period of time, and that keeps his mood high?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, you know, I'm sure he doesn't maintain that all. I'm sure he's getting frustrated right now. He must be terribly frustrated.
Yeah.
He's doing a good job of sort of rising above that. And I think he said it earlier that, you know, you can't do anything about the things you can't do anything about. Yeah. So you have to just press on.
Mike, we're going to have a very quick look at the video that Alex sent most recently, talking about the sleep deprivation, or more the situation with dreaming and believing he's got someone else on board.
I am having a bit of weirdness. When I'm sleeping, I'm dreaming that I'm not on the boat on my own, and then when the alarm goes off to say the wind speeds exceeded my set alarm, then I kind of half wake up and think, oh, it's all right, so-and-so, usually my brother or a friend of mine, Josh, will go and ease the mainsail. And of course, suddenly a few seconds later, I realise there's nobody on board who's going to ease the mainsail, and I jump out of bed. But it's a bit of a strange dream to be having. But sometimes I wish it'd be nice to have somebody on board just to say hello to. But obviously that won't be happening for a while.
So, Mike, you've had these dreams, these experiences as well.
I have indeed, and it really is an indication of the fact that your body is very tired and your brain is trying to trick you into staying into bed. and it's literally, you know, it's so real. When it happens, it's so real that you absolutely 100% believe that other person is there. And you have this like a little thought process with the little wheels going round saying, no, actually, I'm on the Vendee Globe, and I'm pretty sure that's solo.
I think we all have them, Mike.
So, you know, it's a big surprise.
It's a big surprise. Anyway, let's have a look at the weather situation. As I say, still light as we see at the front of the fleet, and this big storm for the Gang of Four. This is the weather situation over the next 24 hours. And so the situation still difficult at the front of the fleet for Armel Leclerc and for Alex Thomson. In particular, Alex still has got quite light winds, just in a little bit of a transition zone. Armel under the high pressure, and he's moving away just in a nice northwesterly breeze, about 20 knots just now for Armel, and Alex really stuck in this transition zone between the low and the high. You can see the blue area is all lighter winds. Looking ahead to tomorrow then for these two, then the situation does improve for Alex as he gets into the low pressure, and Armel, lighter breezes for him tomorrow, 10 to 15 knots, maybe 20 knots from the northwest, but Alex in a good situation with 25 to 30 on top of the low pressure situation. Looking now at the situation for Jean-Pierre Dec, well, he is making steady advances coming down from the north of the situation. He's in 30 knots, better sea conditions than the two boats to the south, which are Jean Le Cam and Jan Elias. We should see continued advance for Jean-Pierre Dec over over the course of today and tomorrow in more favourable conditions, particularly the sea state. He's got slightly smaller seas than the two in the south. If we look at them tomorrow very briefly, then we see that it does get generally lighter for them and a more favourable westerly flow for them tomorrow. And very briefly, Jeremy Biu and Paul Mea. Well, Biu is through into third, and they're in this flux, in this transition zone between the low and the northerly flow there. Very light winds for them today, so slightly more difficult for them. Looking then at the situation towards the back of the fleet, this big low pressure system for the Gang of Four, as we call them. Eric Bellion in particular had 60 knots last night, but looking towards the centre, this is Eric Bellion up here, but down here we have Endo O'Coinin, Alan Rura, and we have Rich Wilson just on top of the low, and they'll get slightly lighter winds as that low moves through to the east. Now looking, the low tomorrow will move through and will catch up with Nandor Fa and Stefan Le Deraison, and they'll get the stronger breezes tomorrow. And finally, looking at the back of the fleet, then situation quite good for the two at the back. That's Sebastian Destremo and Roman Atanasio in strong 25, 30 knots winds from the northwest. Slightly lighter for Didac Costa at the moment, but that low comes through for them, and they should be going quick today. And that's my better-looking twin doing the weather, of course. We have Carlos Pich joining us from Barcelona. Carlos is a journalist there, a sailing journalist of some repute, and a good friend of Didac Costa. And Carlos, you spoke with Didac this morning. What was he saying?
Yes, Andy. Good morning. The first thing that I talked with Didac was about this, the sailing condition during the last 24 hours. He was very happy because he was sailing with 18 to 20 knots and flat seas, and he was waiting the arriving of a call and the increasing of the wind during the next hours. I also asked him about the very nice average distance and his performance, and he explained me that he was not very focused in the race in these terms, that it was depending all the time of the wind conditions in the different areas of the race, and that he was just focused in sail well and very prudently. His first goal is to finish the race. We also talk about the pace respect to Helen MacArthur and himself during the last Barcelona World Race, comparing the performance, and he explained me that was more or less in the pace, that he was very fast from the start to the Ecuador, then a little bit slower from the Ecuador to Good Hope, and in the Indic are more or less in the same performance. Despite that, Helen was not the exclusion area of the ice, that it's un freno, a problem for the tactics. And we also talk about his communications with land people in Herth, and he has problems with the fleet, especially it's a budget problem, and his main communication is by email, and he oftenly chat with his family and their friends, and he just has a restriction for the phone calls, just for very important things with his team or maybe with his family. And about the boat, he was very happy, despite the breakage that he suffered in the Ecuador and with the damage of the big jib sail. but he's always pending about the electronics due to the problems suffered with the Rayo, the Thunderbird, and also the problem in the start of the race.
Okay, Carlos. And how did he sound? What's his mood? What's his morale at the moment?
I think that he sounds very, 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 very well. I think that he's really enjoying the race. He's very confident. Remember that Didac is a firefighter. He's a strong mind, and he's happy to sail there alone and trying to find this adventure that in Spain will be very, very, very important, because if he can finish this Vendee Globe, he will be the second Spanish in do it.
Very much, Carlos. Join us again when we speak with Didac. Thank you, Carlos. So, Guillaume, you spoke with some of the French skippers in the live. What was the feeling? What was the feedback from the race course today?
So in the French live, we had Roma and Jeremy Bayou. They are far away from each other because Jeremy is third and Roma is 21st, so it's not the same conditions. For Roma everything is fine. He's now taking care of his boat because he's happy to be back in the race and he doesn't want any more problems. He's preserving the keel, the hull, sorry, and the rudder. He doesn't want any more problems, and he keeps the head
problem with the hull. He had to make a small composite repair underneath the hull, didn't he?
Yeah,
some
that's it.
delamination.
Yeah, yeah, and he did it
So he's going fairly carefully, but still pushing.
Yeah, he doesn't want the boat to slam in the waves, and he's not going slower than before. He takes care of the boat, and he's going on.
And Jeremy Bayou, is he happy?
Kind of, because this morning he took the third position, but he wasn't happy of that. He was happy to have taken back the 250 miles he lost when he had to fix the hook. So it was weird, but he still has communication problems, so he wasn't that happy. You know, he expects tough conditions in the Pacific, so we'll see.
Thank you very much, Guillaume. Mike Golding, your thoughts on the fleet or the race going on behind the top two, your area with Jean Le Cam and with Jan Elias?
Yeah, I mean, it's still, they're having a great race back there, and you know, the reality is their performance as a standalone element is still extremely good. You know, they're relative to the boats that they're sailing, they're doing extremely well. So it's obviously, it's inevitable with the race. Certainly over the last few weeks, it feels like the focus has always been at the front and at the back, because you've got some characters, you know, kind of coming through at the back, and of course they're in the south and they're experiencing tough conditions, and inevitably at the front because the guys are just pulling away so much. But there's huge stories going on in the middle of the fleet between the little mini races that are taking place, and you know, I think there's a lot more still to come out of this Vendee Globe as they move towards the Pacific.
Obviously, the first time you've watched the race from this perspective, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, when you're out there, you know, I mean,
you're in your bubble.
Obviously, you're on your own, but you create your own world around you, your own. And so, when you hear people speak to you from the boats, the lives, you realise that they're just how isolated they really are. You know, they're isolated not just physically, but they're isolated from all the stories. Their interest focus tends to be directly around.
It's a very inclusive, a very rich event, this particular edition. Mike, we had Kojiro Shiraishi in with us earlier on. Your thoughts on his race, and he's saying he's definitely going to be back in 2020. So we're delighted in some ways to have Kojiro Shiraishi in the studio. Kojiro, of course, we'd much rather you were still out on the race course, but thank you for joining us before you go back to Japan.
くれてありがとうございます。
いや、こちらこそ最後皆さんにねしっかり挨拶して帰りたかったんで良かったと思います。はい。
Yeah, thank you for having me here. I just wanted to say a last goodbye before I left Japan to everyone here at the Vendee Globe. So I'm delighted to be here as well.
What are your feelings at this point?
今の気持ち、今のこの現在の気持ちっていうのを教えてください。
今本当にモチベーションが上がってきて今ね本当に次のレースなんとか日本人初出場までできたんで次初完走できるように頑張りたいともう今前向きな気持ちです。
Yeah, I have a lot more motivation compared to when I had dismasted, just after I had dismasted. So I'm focusing now on the next Vendee Globe in 2020, and I was the first Asian Japanese person to take the start of the Vendee Globe, but I just want to be now the first Asian to finish the Vendee Globe.
So what would the program be now? Going forward, what would you like to do?
これからの4年間のプログラムっていうのを教えてください。
はい、もう今マスターがね折れてしまったんでこのままフランスに返さないで一旦日本に持ってきます。で2年間キャンペーンをやって日本ではイモカ60初めてなんでみんな喜んで待ってます。で一応2年間のキャンペーンの結果スポンサーの額によって、今の船使うか新しい船買うかわからないんだけどなんていうかな2年間日本キャンペーンしてまた再びこのバンデに戻ってきたいと思います。
So yeah, the program for now is for 2 years. First, I need to bring the boat back in Japan, and a spare mast that we have in England is also going to Japan, as well as a container full of working materials. But from then, for 2 years, for about 2 years, we're going to have a PR campaign in Japan to try to raise funds for the budget of the next Vendee Globe, and then the next 2 years prior to the Vendee would be coming back to France and train here and do a couple races before the Vendee Globe.
What are the main things that you have learned? What will you take away from this Vendee Globe as learning?
でこのバンデグローブに対して、ここまでやってきたということで、習得したものっていうのはありますか？
いや、それはすごく大きかったですね。でまず多くの仲間が増えたことで、メディアの方もスタッフもあと選手もみんなよくしていただいてこの人脈はねもう変え難いと思う。それが一番大きな今回のチャレンジで良かった点です。
Yeah, the main thing was really to be able to meet with a lot of people, not only the organization of the Vendee Globe, but all the medias, and of course the skippers amongst themselves has welcomed me very, very well. So I was very happy to be part of this for all the connections and the networking I've been able to do so far.
Good, perfect. Thank you very much. Good luck.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And in 2020 English.
Yeah, okay. もうヨットより英語勉強してくる。
He's gonna learn
Going back to school.
more, yeah, he's gonna learn more English than trying to sail.
Perfect.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Koji.
Thank you, Andy.
Just very quickly to explain that Kojiro's at Charles de Gaulle Airport now. He couldn't be with us live, so good luck at Charles de Gaulle, Koji. Meantime, final word from Mike Golding. Mike, your thoughts on Koji in particular?
Yeah, I mean, he was sailing an amazing race. He's such a character. He's such a great character to have involved with the race, and it would have been truly great to have. I mean, obviously, Japanese sailors and Asian sailors have competed in round the world races, but just not the Vendee Globe, and it would have been so special if he could have gone on. I think what was interesting about his project was he was pretty quick. He was going pretty quickly, and I think that probably surprised a lot of people. He was well on top of it, seemed to relish solo sailing. So I think we can fully expect him back in 2020, and maybe he'll have a bit of Japanese by then.
Absolutely. And Mike, yourself in 2020?
Oh, who knows?
Who knows? Anyway, thank you very much indeed, Mike Golding. We'll speak again over the course of the race. Thank you also to Guillaume. That's our English live. Join us again tomorrow at midday in the UTC, 1300 hours in France. And join us live tomorrow, same time, same place.